Good morning and welcome to another Gribley's Folly Sunday Antisocial Hour. That time each week when I smoke my pipe and complain about humanity, while also answering all of his questions. And this week, we finally hit the limit. Someone has finally asked me a question I refuse to answer. But if you're out there, a piece of humanity, with an itching, burning, swollen question for me, put it in the comments below with the hashtag Ask Gribs, and I will answer any question except the one that was asked this week. This morning I am smoking, and it is actually Sunday morning. I didn't pre-record this week because I was fishing yesterday, had a great time. Also, I'm sick. Again. Anyway, I'm smoking my old standby, the Colonel, and in it is some Northwoods. I'm about halfway through this bowl. And two different people vie for the front of the line this week. I've got a question from a female and one from Danny Hicks that didn't get answered last week, and they're both kind of awkward questions. Let's just go with the most awkward, right? Okay. So, Cassidy Rose via John Galdieri via Instagram, where I have a 365-day photo project. You should go check it out. Instagram at Gribley's Folly. It's pretty cool, actually. So, if you are on Instagram, please follow along. Anyway, via Instagram, Cassidy Rose asks, where would be the worst place you could imagine getting stitches? Now, this is a little unclear, and this comes up because of the Instagram posts that I've been posting about my one experience getting stitches. Something on my lens there. Anyway, all right, so, little unclear what location, like where would be the worst place to be stitched is still, or the place that you're in when you get the stitches, or the place on your body where you get the stitches. So I'll answer both. I think the worst location you could be in while being stitched up would be like, did you ever read The Things They Carried? Cassidy Rose, I really hope you haven't read The Things They Carried, but it's by Tim O'Brien. It's this book about the Vietnam War, and this is not a question for minors, Cassidy Rose. So I hope your parent and or guardian is watching carefully here. There's a platoon of American soldiers, and they make camp for the night after a dry spell. I haven't had any rain in a long time, and in the night, it comes a giant monsoon or whatever happens in Vietnam. And they realize that they have camped in a Viet Cong latrine, like a field that the Viet Cong has been using as a latrine. And I think that would be the worst location to get stitches. So as far as places on the human body that I think would be the worst place to get, I mean, I think there's several contenders. The eyeball, getting a stitch in your eyeball would sure suck. But I think we all know. Let's see. Let's go for specifics here. Anatomy of the penis. I can't pronounce that. I can't. We're gonna need the robot voice for this.
Frenulum. Frenulum.
Tell you every week, I just never know where this video is going to go. All right, Danny Hicks, Ask Gribs. This was left over from last week. I didn't get to it because YouTube didn't do its job. Ask Gribs, do you think, not that it would change the minds of his followers, that the Southern District of New York Federal Court have cards not yet played in the unrestricted investigations beyond pardons? We're talking about Donald Trump here, and all my videos about the Mueller report, there were two. And do I think SDNY will bring the hammer down? Yeah, I do. While we're talking about dicks and politics, Typing Piper says, when will Joe Biden's S&M book, Biden's Bondage, be released? Or will it always be locked away? That's hilarious, Typing Piper. Somebody else said, we were talking about Joe Biden's the liberties with which he acts in relation to women. We were talking about this last week, and somebody said, he's a choir boy compared to our current president, and that is true. But the thing is, if the Dems run Biden, Trump will just give him a nickname like Creepy Joe, and the tables will be turned. And Donald Trump is he's a brilliant bully. Basically, he's a predator, and he has an instinct for projecting his own problems onto other people. And Joe Biden would get his ass handed to him over that. I think the Dems, if they're going to be competitive, need to find anyone that doesn't have a creepy past, right? Like, that shouldn't be too hard, right?
Frenulum.
You know, the other problem with Joe Biden is that, like, every time I see this guy, I get "Hey Joe" stuck in my head. The Jimi Hendrix song. I'm like, can you just change your name to, like, Scott Biden or Bill Biden or anything? I don't know why it's just him, because I know other Joes in my life, but and here's another question. "Hey Joe, where are you going with that gun in your hand?" "I'm going down to shoot my lady. Caught her messing around with another man." Right? Okay, why doesn't the person that's talking to Joe in the song try to stop Joe from shooting his lady? Like, "Where are you going with that gun in your hand?" "Going down to shoot my lady." "Hey Joe, why don't you sit down and think about this carefully before you do something you might regret?" And just so we keep this particular antisocial on the level of maturity as a middle school boy's locker room, Fireplug, after our talk about women of childbearing age last week, Fireplug actually Googled what is childbearing age to find out when women menstruate. Google says technically women can get pregnant and bear children from puberty until menopause. The average women's reproductive years are between the ages of 12 and 51. Thank you, Fireplug. If you're just tuning in and you see how committed I am to answering any question, any topic here on this channel, you will be eager to know what is the question that I refuse to answer. Well, it comes from none other than Derek Tant. And we'll get to it in just a minute. That's called a tease. Grant Reynard says, "I figure it's a good first day, opening day of trout season. Figure if it's good first day if you catch fish and don't fall in the river." That is true. That is true. Do you ever eat trout? Very occasionally. I don't like to kill things, and I'm working on that internally, in my internals, my moral compass. Trying to figure that out. Don't like to kill things. And I don't like to kill trout, and I don't like to eat trout, but every year I do. I do eat a few trout to sort of keep me connected with the process of nature. You know, you got to kill something if you want to get its protein. So every year I do that. Every year I'm less pleased with it. It becomes easier, but I'm still just kind of like, this isn't good. And then I go to the grocery store and I buy my packaged meat, and I try not to think about that. So I'm really working on it. I was talking to my wife recently about, you know, what do you do about this? Because, like, we were driving down the road and a chicken truck went by, and, like, you know, half the chickens on that thing are dead. I don't know. I'll get back to you. Piping Piper asks Ribs, "In the world of Me Too," excuse me, kids in preschool, man, it's constant sickness. All right. And normally I don't smoke my pipe when I'm sick, but screw that. "In the world of Me Too, can you explain that the fastest selling book ever is 50 Shades of Grey?" Well, not really, because I've never read 50 Shades of Grey. I don't really know what it's about. I mean, I know what it's about, but I don't know the internals. However, I would say this: people are obsessed with sex. And if you package sex in a way that large markets of readers want to read, it's a no-brainer, man. And, you know, I think that 50 Shades of Grey is probably a good thing. You know, it probably opened up a lot of minds to, I don't know what it's about, bondage, right? It probably opened up a lot of people's minds to their own interest in sex, and that's good. But from what I understand, it's pretty much trash. So I've never read it. And I think that as much as we like to pretend that, so I'm assuming there's like a non-consensual element because it's bondage related. As much as we like to pretend that that is completely disgusting and repulsive, people on both sides of the spectrum are attracted, not by it, but attracted to the idea of relationships that have that tension in them. That's what I think, having never read the book. While we're on these awkward subjects, Typing Piper asks, nobody can say I didn't identify with being a woman while having my question read first, or can they? No, I guess they can't. But it's my channel and I can read whoever's question I want. By the way, if you are a reader of things, if you've just finished 50 Shades of Grey, you can go read Typing Piper's series on working in a kitchen, which is pretty hilarious. He's been sending me links. Go to his blog, which is The Collapse Experiment, I think, or just go over to his YouTube channel, Typing Piper, and you'll find it from there, I'm sure. Last from Typing Piper, is bamboo a bush or a tree? Why do we get caught in these traps of binary thinking? They're only bushes or trees. Can't be anything in between. I think it's a tree. I think anything over 6 feet is automatically a tree. Like, even though bamboo has no branches, I mean, it kind of has branches at the top, right? It's a tree. Definitely a tree. Over a pipe asked Gribbs, with the manufactured crisis of flossing. I don't know what that is. Is that the dance move? The food pyramid made of cards and ever-changing chimera called astrology. Can we trust anything anymore, such as the fortune cookie at China Moon, the Magda Gypsy fortune teller at the Renaissance Fair, or is this all just simple paranoia creeping in? It's definitely paranoia. Anyone who has been watching my channel for any length of time should know that you can trust no one on these matters, except, of course, for level 50 shaman. How do you know I'm a level 50 shaman, you ask? Well, I could show you my shaman badge, but it's super secret, and actually it's not tangible. It's a spiritual badge. So you just have to trust me. But that's okay, because the only people you can trust are level 50 shaman. Plus I have antlers now. Contemplative Piper asked Gribbs, in a zombie apocalypse, would you rather have a bow and a dozen arrows as your silent ranged weapon, or a wrist rocket with infinite rocks? Wrist rocket, hands down, or wrists down, I would want a slingshot style weapon as opposed to a bow and arrow style weapon. Here's why. I suck at shooting a bow and arrow, number one. That's the first thing I thought of, is I can't hit the target at 10 yards with a bow and arrow. I'm not great with I'm not really good at all with a slingshot. However, I feel like if you have infinite rocks, in any downtime you have, you can practice. And therefore, you know, up your skills a little bit to deal with the zombie hordes. Plus, I think when you're dealing with zombies, only headshots count, right? So a headshot with a bow and arrow is much more difficult than a headshot with a slingshot. And I mean, David and Goliath, you know, finally, it's much more compact and portable. You could just duct tape it to your wrist, a la Ash, and if you've got infinite rocks, you're always set to go. You know, because you can like use your hand while it's on your wrist. I've got one around here somewhere. Mostly I use it for hanging ham radio antennas, which is a lot of fun. But that's what I would want. I would, if I could choose my projectile, it wouldn't be rocks, it would be lead fishing sinkers, like the big ones. But whatever. All right. Here it is, the question you've all been waiting for. Derek Tant asked Gribbs, what are you afraid of? I'm not going to tell you that. I'm sorry. I've answered so many questions that I probably shouldn't have here on this channel. I'm not going to tell you what I'm afraid of, and here's why. I mean, I can tell you I'm afraid of, like, you know, normal stuff, harm coming to me or my family, existential worries that I have because of my OCD. All that stuff is scary. But the thing that first came to mind here, I'm not going to reveal, because if you have a phobia, you will know what I'm talking about. Everyone thinks, when they know that you have a phobia of something, they think it's absolutely hilarious. It's so funny to expose you to the thing you're afraid of. And it's not funny. People that don't have phobias can't understand how not funny this is. And so throughout my life, I have told people I'm really scared of X. And throughout my life, people they post X on my Facebook page, they show me X in person, and it's not cool. I grew up in a log cabin that really could have used a visit from an exterminator or 12. And that should give you, we had all manner of creatures that came into the log cabin. And so I will say it is a creature in the animal kingdom, and it's a specific subspecies or group of subspecies, genus. Derek Kent, you're a genus. It's a specific type of a certain creature that I encounter enough in real life, and I don't need other people sending it to me. So, Derek, you finally won the antisocial. Congratulations, sir. I don't know what you win. Pop-Tarts? So that's it for the questions. What else is new? I went fishing yesterday. We're supposed to get tornadoes today. That ought to be fun. We didn't get them yesterday. We're supposed to get them yesterday. But I'm disappointed. I went and saw the new Pet Cemetery this week. I mean, 3 stars. 3 stars. You know, it wasn't terrible. There were parts that were, it was just felt really rushed. It was like, we got to get this movie done. It's like 4 o'clock on a Friday. Like, let's hammer this out, and I'll go home for the weekend. You know, the little kid was convincing. She was good, but nothing like the original. Stephen King. I was a big Stephen King reader in my high school years, and in my 20s I was a big Stephen King rereader. And Pet Sematary, I think, is, I don't know. I mean, I think it is the masterpiece, right? It is the apex of Stephen King's art form, but it's hard to beat Pet Sematary for just like brutal, creepy, like if Pet Sematary were a dog, it would be an undead pit bull. Whereas it would be more like an undead Saint Bernard, you know? It's bigger, but it's more complex. Anyway, yeah, I feel like the original Pet Sematary did a lot better job of capturing the horrible, horrible feeling of the book. And that's all I really have to report. It's been a pretty boring week. I found some uncharted waters, and by that I mean I'd never been there before. Yes, they might be charted, but not by me. I've never really charted any waters, so even the places I've been are still uncharted. Like that. I guess, yeah, I guess it was a little bit less close than Close Creek, but it was still pretty close, and I lost like 24 flies yesterday. So I am going to be drinking coffee and eating cough drops and tying flies like a crazy person today to get back in the game. I think I might finally order some waders too. We'll see about that. That would be a big concession for me. But I want to go fish. I want to go fish the Leech Creek, and I don't want leeches. Now, of course, if Derek Tant ever agrees to the leech off, that's a different story. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week, if not before. We've definitely going to have some videos coming out before. Go check me out on Instagram, @Gribley's Folly. Go check out Typing Piper, Collapse Experiment blog. Let me get you the address for that. Okay, it is thecollapseexperiment.com. Who knew? While you're typing things into your browser, go to gribleysfolly.com, and you'll find there a link to my Instagram account. Or just stay on gribleysfolly.com. There's plenty of stuff there. Thank you for watching. Keep the ends out for the ties that bind.